Hello everyone and welcome back to the Integrity Botanicals YouTube channel. Today I am finally reviewing the other two Vapour quads. So if you saw a couple weeks ago, I did upload. I split it into two parts because I had a lot to say on these palettes. So this is more like a part two. I don't want to sound too overly redundant, so I'm going to keep this one a little bit more short and sweet. If you want to see what the other two palettes are looking like, thoughts, opinions, swatches, and a little bit more in-length discussion about the formula because it is very unique, I will link that video down below. But today we are going to be discussing the two palettes that I did not discuss in the last video, and that is going to be the HYPNOTIC and the Labyrinth palette. So these, I want to do something a little bit more intense with my eyes today. Last time was like, they were the little bit more neutral, easy, everyday palettes. These ones can be very much everyday. That is what I love about these palettes. They go from subtle to a little bit more dramatic, night on the town, but these ones are just a little bit deeper in variety, have a little bit more shimmer shades, which I really like as well, and I'm just gonna jump right into it. So to recap, these are of course packaged the same way as the other two. Beautiful robin egg blue, very, very sleek packaging, which I love, and the name of the palette on the back. The only thing that I think is a little interesting is that all the shades do have names on the website, but they are not marked here on the back. I did mention in my last video that that's not really a big deal from a consumer aspect. Sometimes a little bit more difficult for me to talk to you about what shades I'm using, but that is why I like the pointing method. I told you guys about that. So anyway, the HYPNOTIC quad is their purple variety. Purples, I was worried about this one because if you watch my last video, the formulation of these shadows is incredibly buildable. But the blend on them is stunning. So they are a little bit more firm to the touch. They do have quite a good amount of kick up in the pan. A lot of natural shadows do because they're not formulated with talc or any synthetic binders. So that's something that I've gotten used to over the course of time with natural shadows. But these you will kind of notice that kick up in the pan. So I do always recommend knocking off the excess off your brush just to make sure that you don't get fallout anywhere, or of course you can always lead with the eyes first. That is never something I've really gotten down with, but I totally understand why someone would do it, and I would see why you would do it with these palettes as well. So the HYPNOTIC shadows, these are $48. All of the eyeshadow quads are, so they're not the cheapest, but when you break it up individually, it's $12 an eyeshadow. I have certainly paid more than that for a single eyeshadow in my day. So the HYPNOTIC palette is described as a romantic daydream. It is a vegan palette. All of the Vapour quads are, which is fantastic. But I really like the description of a romantic daydream because it is this more soft, hazy. I can kind of see this being like a Valentine's Day look type of thing. The only thing I will notice with the Vapour quads is that all of them definitely lean more on the cool side, which is different for me, but I think it's kind of nice because it forced me to use them in my last two reviews for you. But let's just jump right into swatches. I'm going to start up in this corner right here. We have the shade Garnet. Garnet is one of their low pearl options, so it does have a little bit of shine to it, nothing too crazy. This one is just, I don't want to call it garnet, but it definitely has a little bit of that more reddish purple tone to it, but it is definitely based in a more deep brown. The pearl tone on this one isn't picking up crazy, but it definitely has that little bit of shine that will keep it from looking very, very flat on the eyes. Right next door here we have the shade Opal. Opal is a matte shade. I actually really like this one. It reminds me of Kjaer Weis Angelic, so it is actually pretty rich in pigment. So I like taking shades like that just on the eyelid. It will allow for a little bit of brightness because it has this more lilac undertone to it, but is a really cool wearable lilac that can also cancel out any sort of discoloration you have on the eyelid as well, especially when it's a little bit more pigmented. This would actually look really nice if you laid out some concealer all over the eyelid and pack this on top to get that really nice clean line and do a cut crease or something like that. That would be a really nice shade for it. Then down here we have the shade Topaz. Topaz is not a low pearl, it's just a regular pearl shadow. This one has a little bit of a nicer consistency. Shimmering shadows, point blank period, often do, which is why I actually found that I like the formulation of these two palettes a little bit better from a swatch standpoint. I do think they all perform nicely on the eyes, but this is just a really nice, slightly shiny, not fully metallic, purple that is really beautiful mid-tone shade. You can use it to deepen up the eye look a little bit, but it's not overly dark where you're losing that shine. Finally, we have the shade Lepidolite. Lepidolite. It's a stone of some kind, I'm assuming. But this is a matte. This one is a little bit more firm to the touch, so I was worried upon swatching. However, I do think this product builds up really nice. This reminds me of like the Archetype palette from the other two ones that I've reviewed, where it's a little stiff, but the blend on it is beautiful. It doesn't stick, bunch. You can see, I think, the way that these look on my eyes is some of the most smooth, beautiful blends that all work very nicely with one another. So variety wise, I love how this palette looks. This is definitely a one and done palette. You could do everything from sort of highlight the brow bone and accentuate the eyelid to deepen up the crease, do a little bit of a faux liner, add a little bit of shimmer. This is probably the best setup of all the Vapour quads. I'm actually really, really pleased with the HYPNOTIC. Thumbs up from me, really enjoy it. But if you didn't catch my other videos, formulation-wise, just across the board, I'm not going to hammer this home the way I did in the last video, is that the swatch appeal on these, not the greatest. They are not going to just blow your mind, but because they are so buildable, you get a really, really seamless blend on them that I think looks effortless, natural, and I totally get who their consumer is in mind. I do hope in the future they do have some palettes that do pack a little bit more of a punch, because I think the pairing between the two would be stunning, but I am a big fan. Next up, the Labyrinth Palette. And I want to take so much time, by the way, explaining that, because I understand that especially a more expensive product, if it's not swatching like creamy, buttery, oh my god, you're like, huh? But it's worth building up to, dependent upon how you like to wear your makeup. If you're an everyday girl, I think this is ideal, and that's a lot of the feedback I got in the comments from the last video, so I'm glad you guys were kind of picking up what I was putting down. Let's get right into the Labyrinth palette here. This one is described as chic and mysterious, and I like that because we do have a little bit more color in here. Definitely much more shine. So let's start up top with Incense. Incense is a low pearl shadow. This is a nice dark brown. This one, some of the pearls, they just don't pull up too pearly. This one is definitely a little bit more matte. However, the tone of it is actually pretty deep, and once you build it up, you can really get a nice rich color out of it. So if you just take your time and patience, this will give you that nice deep dark color that you were looking for to, again, faux line, really accentuate that outer corner, something like that. Then we have the shade, by the way, I am mostly wearing the HYPNOTIC palette on my eyes today, but I did go in a little bit with Incense to deepen up like the tiniest bit in the outer corner, because of course I do have a wing on today, so I didn't need too much outer depth. But just putting that out there. Next door here, the more green shade is the shade Dragonfly. This is another low pearl. This one feels a little bit better to the touch, a little bit more buttery. But what I like about this is that it's not a scary green. In fact, it's a really, really, really wearable green. You almost wouldn't notice that it's green. But this would be nice to pair with complementing green eyeshadows you have in your collection, or to do something that is rich yet not stark black. Any sort of dark green, dark blue, dark purple. These are really nice ways to add definition that aren't screaming, oh my god, color, and aren't also like really rich, intense black, if you know what I mean. I actually love this next shade we're going to talk about. This is the shade Moonstone. This is one of the mattes. Again, I wouldn't call this a matte. This is more of a satin to me, because even looking in the pan, I can see that there does appear to be some reflect that stops it from being very, very flat. But this is what I have across my eyelid today, so you can see none of the shine is really picking up, but it is not this stiff, hard matte either. But this tone is really interesting because it is just like a very light, cementy gray. But for whatever reason, I like it very much. It's too dark for a brow bone shade, but light enough to differentiate. You could see that, you could definitely see the difference between my crease and this, and they work really nicely together, and you could tell that it's definitely cleaned up and there is shadow there. It's not bare skin, but it's not super dark. And that's kind of a hard thing to balance. And I also, as cool tone as this eye look is, I can't believe how much I actually like it. So I think that is a very big testament as well. Finally, we have the best performing shade of all the Vapour palettes, actually. This is the shade Meteorite. This is a pearl shade. The pigment on this is lovely, and it is buttery smooth to the touch. So I don't know exactly what's going on with this one, but I am not complaining. I do have this shade underneath my lower lash line today just for a little bit of shine, but it is this more gray and almost slightly slate blue that swatches like a dream. So this would be really, really nice for a smoky eye if you are in the mood for that kind of thing. So that's it. Those are the other two Vapour palettes swatched. Performance-wise, I think these two are a little bit better than the last two, just on an overall basis. I do think all of them can be made to work. I do understand the function of them all. I just do think they need a lot of explanation, and for some people, that's not worth it, and I get that too. But I wanted to share with you, for those of you who maybe already purchased it, not quite sure how to use them, or maybe a little bit underwhelmed with the swatch appeal of them, I get that too. So I wanted to take the time to discuss them. Of course, because I've been so long-winded discussing the formulation, I have not shared with you how these really perform on my eyes. I am wearing them here, and I did wear them in my last video as well. And you all love that eyeshadow look, so I actually think I'm gonna be doing that look as my Valentine's Day makeup look, because I think that really soft everyday glam is perfect for Valentine's Day. And then I think I'm gonna do two lip options, one like a really nice, sultry, easy, kissable nude, and then another more built up, strong, nice, bold lip, and I think that eye look is conducive to both. So let me know what you think about that. We do have some time before Valentine's Day is creeping up. I love love. I love Valentine's Day. Not for the hallmark of it all, but any excuse to tell somebody I'm crazy about them, I am here for, as well as eat some candy hearts. So if you would like to see any upcoming content that I have, including doing makeup looks featuring these palettes, it might even be fun to do a series where I do a look on every single palette. Let me know if you want to see that as well. That would be fun for me. Again, they are much more cool tone palettes, which is significantly outside of my comfort zone, so it might be fun for you all to see me play with those. But thank you all so much for watching. If you want to know what I have on my face today, I do always include it in the description box down below, so you are more than welcome to check it out. Please do give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe. I upload here twice weekly, and I don't want you all to miss it. Swatch photos, anything you need is down below. I am always available for questions. I am in the comments at least once a week saying hello, checking in, seeing what's good with you all. So don't hesitate to drop me a line or follow us on all of our social media, because we are always posting there in the in-between. But thank you all so much for watching. Thank you so much for the love and support. Check out my other two palette review. I will have some helpful links down below for you as well, and I will catch you all in my next one. Bye!